All right, we are on profitability analysis and activity ratios. Okay, so some of the first one they're going to start off with here is the asset turnover ratio, and this is where they take net sales divided by average total assets. How do you get average total assets? You take the beginning balance plus the ending balance and divide that by 2. Okay. And the reason being is because you are pulling a number from the income statement. Remember, the income statement is dated differently. It's dated for the year ended, for the period ended, but the balance sheet where your total assets come from is just one day in time. So that is why you do average total assets. Okay. Then the receivables turnover ratio, you can do net sales divided by average accounts receivables net. Okay, average accounts receivables, again, beginning, ending, divided by 2. And when they say net, they're meaning net of the allowance for doubtful accounts. Okay, then you can take that receivables turnover ratio. We can use it to find the average collection period, 365 divided by that ratio, and see how long it takes us to collect an average receivable. You hope if your credit period is around 30 days, you hope that number is going to be around 30 because that's how long you extend credit. If it's really high, like 60, but your credit period's 30, ooh, that's not good. Okay. So you kind of have to look. You can't really just gauge that. You have to look and see what their credit, how long do they grant credit to their customers. Okay. Then we have the inventory turnover ratio, which is cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. Right here, again, beginning balance added to the ending balance divided by 2 is how you get the average inventory. Okay. Then you find average days in inventory, 365 divided by that inventory turnover ratio. And that tells us how many times we sold all of our inventory in a year. So you hope this number is higher. Okay. But you've got to remember what industry you are in. Okay. If you're a Walmart, your inventory turnover ratio is going to be much higher because they make their money on selling the same thing over and over and over again, many, many times. Think about Furniture Row. We don't go out and buy a couch every week, do we? Okay. So places like that, Best Buy, Furniture Row, um, even probably Home Depot, Lowe's, part of theirs is not, their inventory turnover is not going to be quite as high as other industries. So you kind of have to compare it to what industry you are in to see how well you're doing in that. Okay. We have profitability ratios. We have profit margin on sales, which is just net income divided by net sales. A lot of times this is a very small number. Okay. Like 3% on average. What that means is for every dollar in sales, how much cents ends up in net income. Usually it's not a lot. Okay. Return on assets, net income divided by average total assets. Again, beginning balance plus ending balance divided by 2. Same here. Anytime you see average, that's what you're doing. You're taking the average beginning and ending divided by 2. Okay. And then that is return on equity. There is this DuPont framework, and it takes several ratios and pulls them all together: profitability, activity, and financial leverage. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that's something we actually cover in financial management. Okay. So they have a couple of things here. Interim reporting. This is less than a year, quarterly. Corporations have to do quarterly financial statements. So they'll have first, second, third, and fourth quarter. These are not going to be audited. Okay. When they do their annual report at the end of the year, those numbers will be audited. Okay. But not those interim. Can you imagine having to have audited financial statements every 3 months? By the time you finished one audit, you would be starting another. Okay. So that would take a lot. Okay. So those are more estimates. We don't put as much stock into those as we do the full year. All right. That is all for this chapter, and I will see you in the next chapter 5.